So following the news that Richardson Hitchins has joined Zuffa Boxing, it does now beg the question, what weight division will Richardson Hitchins be fighting at? Because Zuffa Boxing announced their weight classes and they were basically doing away with the super/junior weight classes, and we're just going to be doing, your lightweight, welterweight, middleweight, like heavyweight, cruiserweight, heavyweight, right? Of course, Richardson Hitchins is a world champion at super lightweight, which is 140 pounds. Now, does this now mean that Zuffa are going to have a 140-pound division, or likely is it that Hitchins is going to move up to 47 and then be campaigning at that weight division? Granted, Hitchins isn't necessarily small for 140. He's a decent-sized 47-pound fighter. He could easily do that switch. And again, he's a talented enough boxer to move up a weight division and still have his way with a lot of guys and still dominate and put on defensive masterclasses. And even in a lot of cases, offensive masterclasses in the way he's able to pick his shots and mix it up to the head and body. He does it at a really high level. And that's what makes Richardson Hitchins the fighter he is, and why he's an undefeated world champion, and why Zuffa Boxing have then gone on to want to sign him. But this automatically means that he's going to be stripped of his 140 belt, which I'm hearing that the IBF are trying to sanction a mandatory fight for Hitchins against Lindolfo Delgado, which, again, I think would be a pretty easy fight for Richardson Hitchins, in my opinion, but shows that I guess the IBF are still trying to be active and still want Hitchins to defend the belt, or it's a situation where they're going to mandate it and Richardson Hitchins will not, go ahead with it, and then the IBF will just strip him, and then Hitchins will go on to fight whoever he fights at 47 under Zuffa Boxing. Maybe a Regis program. I mean, no, there'd be no point in that fight. Conor Benn, maybe. But again, you're going to want to get Hitchins to have at least a fight under Zuffa Boxing before you do those big fights. I mean, maybe that's what they're thinking down the line. I don't know. But it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to find out, because even Conor Benn, right? Conor Benn doesn't even fight. Well, this fight against Regis Prograis is going to be at 150, a catch weight, which is definitely not recognised by Zuffa Boxing. But to be fair, it's not on a Zuffa Boxing card. But Conor Benn signed with Zuffa. So is it going to be the same with Richardson Hitchins, where he signed with Zuffa, but he's going to be fighting on ring cards? Will he defend his 140-pound belt on a ring card? And then if he fights on the Zuffa Boxing card, he'll fight at 147. Again, those Zuffa Boxing cards at the Apex, they are less than, right? They are, well, like the Contender Series, like the Apex cards in the UFC. They feel small, regional, what's the other word? Like sanitary. It doesn't feel like a real boxing event. It feels like it's just put on to showcase these guys, and we all know what it is. It is what it is, right? That's how the Zuffa Boxing cards at the Apex feel. But when you're in Las Vegas, when you're in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, when you're at Wembley, when you're at, the AT&T Stadium, you're, Madison Square Garden, the MGM Grand, the Barclays Centre, when you're at these places, it genuinely feels you're at a pay-per-view boxing event and anything could happen. Zuffa Boxing events don't have that yet. But I guess with signings like Richardson Hitchins, you're going to start to begin to gain that. Again, Richardson Hitchins isn't a super entertaining fighter to the casual fan. Again, to a guy like me, I'm going to watch Richardson Hitchins fights because he tends to put on masterclasses against a certain level of opponent, particularly his last fight against Kambosos. Put an absolute masterclass on him and beat the brakes off of Kambosos in that fight. In which case, we're going to find out. We're going to find out Saturday night. We're going to find out whether Richardson Hitchins... I mean, we're not going to find out this Saturday night, obviously. That's... I don't literally mean this Saturday night, just quoting Max Holloway. But yeah, I suppose when reports drop on who his next opponent will be, we'll find out where he's going to be campaigning at under Zuffa Boxing. I'd be curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. Where do you think Richardson Hitchins is going to be campaigning now that he's signed with Zuffa Boxing? Will it be continuing at 140, or will he be forced to move up to 147? Let me know in the comments below. Another episode of the Seth Solo Side Quest in the bag, and I'm out. Peace.